Phelan Leadership Academy's Teacher Rubric Domain 1, Culture and Behavior Management. This professional learning experience encourages you to learn, grow, inspire, and transform. Domain 1, Culture and Behavior Management. What? What is culture and behavior management? These components include effective lesson pacing, scholar engagement, teacher and scholar rapport, solid instructional routines, procedures, and classroom management that fosters a culture for achievement under effective classroom supervision. How? The culture creation and management of behavior both involve providing adequate think time, building scholar curiosity and interest, seeking multiple ways to engage content, making prerequisite skills, and making adjustments if there are gaps in knowledge. The teacher establishes clear communication and expectations, routines, and procedures. The teacher also defines and promotes respect and redirects off task behaviors with minimal disruptions. The educator will also foster pride, instill the value of hard work, and the belief that all scholars can succeed, which looks like the educator circulating and scanning the classroom in order to manage on task academic behaviors, i.e., not the teacher sitting while teaching. As a result, this will minimize behaviors and reinforce rewards and incentivize positive behaviors, thus creating a healthy classroom where scholars thrive. That was a lot, but let's unpack culture. Is this common language? It's important for us to establish common knowledge, common understanding, common demonstration for everyone to be on the same page as a network. So common knowledge really expresses information and facts. Common understanding, that's the look, feel, and sound, and how we make connections with through our experiences. Then we have common demonstrations, which are actions, our responses, rewards, incentives, and consequences. So, in order for us to be on the same page when it comes to language, we want to make sure that we have a common knowledge of the language, common understanding through our connections and experiences, and we want to demonstrate what that language represents through our actions, our responses, rewards, incentives, and consequences. And so when we think about this domain, we want to ask ourselves culture is such a huge word. It is defined as all the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of a population that are passed down from generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, art, by according to Boston University. These are just some informal quotes that we tend to use in our network regarding culture. It is the personality of the group. So in the classroom, what is the personality of your classroom? What is the pulse check? What is the temperature like? What is the mood if we use a mood meter? That would describe your classroom environment. Is it teacher led or is it scholar led? Does everyone own the space or is only one person managing that space, which is the teacher? Or does everyone participate in the community that's being created? Culture also can be defined in as the way things are done around here. It's our actions, it's how we move, it's how we decide and problem solve together. Another definition, the items we carry around in our invisible suitcase. Some items we choose to put in and pack up, while others were prepackaged and handed to us without our permission. Some of our scholars come to the classroom, to the school environment, again, with a lot of different experiences. Some of those experiences um, might be their choices, right? While others were not. Their where they live, their zip code, their address, their names, those weren't things that they were necessarily that they had a choice in, but it has become a part of their culture and who they are. Culture is like the wind. You can't see it, but you can definitely feel it. And so this is another one as well. You can see certain aspects of culture, but there are other aspects of culture that it's not so visible. And so it's important when coming into your classroom or the school in general for us to really think about how huge and how large this word culture actually is. a lot. Salem Leadership Academies, Teacher Rubric, Domain 1, Culture and Behavior Management. This professional learning experience encourages you to learn, grow, inspire, and transform. Domain 1, Culture and Behavior Management. What? What is culture and what is behavior management? These components include effective lesson pacing, scholar engagement, teacher and scholar rapport, solid instructional routines, procedures, and classroom management that fosters a culture for achievement under effective classroom supervision. Now, how? How do we do this? Well, culture is created and managed in multiple ways, but the culture creation and management of behavior both involve providing adequate think time, building scholar curiosity and interest, seeking multiple ways to engage content, making prerequisite skills, and making adjustments if there are gaps in knowledge. The teacher establishes clear communication and expectations, routines and procedures, defines and promotes RESPECT, and redirects off task behaviors with minimal disruptions. How do we accomplish this? We're going to keep going further. Well, the educator will foster pride, instill the value of hard work, and the belief that all scholars can succeed, which looks like the educator circulating and scanning the classroom in order to manage on task academic behaviors, i.e., not the teacher sitting while teaching. As a result, this will minimize misbehaviors and reinforce rewards and incentivize positive behaviors, thus creating a healthy classroom where scholars thrive. So now we're going to start with culture. We use this word a lot, but is it really common language? Whenever we're using vocabulary words, it's very important for us to make sure that we have common knowledge, common understanding, and that we apply common demonstration. And so the first thing is culture. Well, that common knowledge piece is the information and facts. What do we believe to be true about culture? What are the facts? Well, the understanding. What does it look, feel, and sound like? And so through this training, we want to ensure that we all have a common sense of understanding of what culture looks, feels, and sounds like, that we're able to make connections, we're able to look through our experiences and have common experiences and share connections, as well as common demonstrations. How we live our culture out loud through our actions, our responses, our rewards, our incentives, and our consequences. And so in our building, when we use language, when we respond, when we can walk into a building and get a feel of of what's happening and occurring, wow, it's we're better able to have common knowledge, common understanding, and to come and have common demonstration. So that's our goal as a school building, to make sure that when we use our language and when we're living our culture out loud, that we are on the same page. And so, according to Boston University, culture is defined as the ways of life, including the arts, the beliefs, and institutions of the population that are passed down from generation to generation, or it can also be called the way of life for an entire society. And we know that when we think of our school buildings, right, what are the codes of manners? What's the dress? What's the language, the religion, the rituals, the art? When you look at this graphic here, how does it speak to you? What is the culture of your classroom? So that would be the micro culture, but the macro culture is the what the school building in general, what are our beliefs? What are our shared beliefs as a school wide building, right? What is our shared language as a school? Now, your microculture is what are your shared beliefs, attitudes, language, customs, rituals, behaviors in your classroom. That's the microculture. And so it's really important for you to establish that as a school, but also as an individual educator. Some other quotes include the personality of the group. What's the personality of your classroom? Is it teacher-led? Is it scholar-led? Is it friendly or is it rooted in fear? Is it rooted in respect and trust and collaboration? And so again, what words would be used to describe the culture that you seek to create in your classroom? Another quote is the way things are done around here. So it's the demonstration, it's the how we live out loud with one another, right? When people are looking and watching and when they are not. So what's the integrity of our classrooms and our environments and things like that? Another definition, the items we carry around in our invisible suitcase. Some items we choose to put in and pack up while others were prepackaged and handed to us without our permission. Again, how many of us had the chance to choose our name? How many of us had choice and voice and our address and where we lived and the socioeconomics class that we were born into? Right? Many of us, we didn't get that choice. It was kind of prepackaged for us and handed to us. We want to remember that our scholars come to us with very few choices about their circumstances and situations, but we want to empower them to know what their choices are and how they, through education and learning, they really have a lot of opportunities. And we want to make sure that we keep them encouraged. But as the educator in the building, it is important to know, again, our scholars, we want to provide as much choice and voice as possible. And another quote for culture is like the wind. You can't see it, but you can definitely feel it. And this quote is connected to deep culture, the culture that you don't really see. 90%, 10% of culture is what we see. 90% of culture is what we do not see. All right, so let's dig deep into now our indicators. Indicator 1.1 is lesson pacing. These are some guiding questions. Is the lesson delivered in a way that maintains scholar interest and focus of attention? Is it timely? Is it moving? Is it progressing at an appropriate pace? Is the lesson adjusted to accommodate diverse skills and knowledge? For example, are our gifted scholars or above grade level scholars, are they being accommodated? Are our tier 2 and tier 3 scholars, are their needs being met as well? Well, we know that at PLA, pacing is huge for our scholars. So we don't want the lesson to go too slow, but we also don't want it to go so fast that no one's really able to keep up. So what is pacing? Pacing is the skill of creating a perception that a class is moving at just the right speed for scholars. Generally, this will mean that the lesson appears to unfold more quickly. Scholars must see and be involved in the lesson so that the changes serve as indicators that showcase speed slash progress of the lesson. So we don't want them, again, we don't want it to be too fast, but we don't want it to be too slow either. So we want it to keep scholars on their toes and keep them moving. So what are some things that we can do to maintain healthy lesson pacing? The first is the use of timers all day, every day. We need you to use timers. So create a sense of urgency with our scholars. Do scholars really have a sense of time, a realistic sense of time? For some of our scholars, not really, not so much. So to see the timer, it really creates that sense of urgency. It frees the educator not to have to use your mouth and your voice to create that sense of urgency. So insert a YouTube video timer into a Google Slides presentation, use a timer or a GIF image and or an external timer tool to provide a visual reminder about the time allotment. If they see it, they'll believe it, and they'll definitely appreciate the time that they're given when they know that you're going to honor the time. And when their time is up, the time is up. And they're going to be asked to demonstrate their thinking. There's a resource that you'll be provided, which is a PDF of the foundations of time and instruction, and it provides a lot of great ways for us to ensure that the lesson is progressing and moving in a way that benefits our scholars. All right, in order to stretch this component under lesson pacing, we also want to make sure that goals are clear. And so in the classroom, it's important to have our I can statements or our guiding questions that are going to be used to provoke the learning pathways for the lesson. For example, how has heritage influenced your life? So that's a very good one. What does knowing Latin roots, or how does knowing Latin roots help you understand word meaning? So all of these, this teacher is using questions to really guide the learning for the day. This teacher on the right is choosing to use I can statements. And so we know that these are all things that are encouraged in our network as well. Have smooth transitions. So we want to make sure that when we are wanting to move from one place in the lesson to the next, it's important for us to utilize the scholars to help with the transitions. For example, should a teacher spend 10 minutes passing out papers? Absolutely not, right? If it's a test, if it's something confidential, if it's something that you can do to really structure and help scholars to pass out papers and to collect their materials and things like that, that really contributes to the moving of the lesson, right? Be sure materials are ready. Make sure the kits are prepared and stocked. Make sure you have jobs assigned so that there is a materials monitor. There's a person who knows they're supposed to pass out the paper. There are leadership roles and opportunities. That's another way to help the lesson continue to progress without several delays, right? Present instructions visibly. Research shows that Generation Alpha are our elementary scholars, high schoolers, middle schoolers are in that Gen Z range. And so visual directions are everything, right? The research shows it. And so we have to stay abreast of our clients, and our clients are Gen Zs and Generation Alphas. They are born digital natives, they are digital savvy. Visuals matter. The attention span sometimes can be short. I think that is true for all of us at this point. And so it's really important for us to have the visuals and utilize your Google Workspace or Microsoft Office or whatever tools that you have to provide those visuals as they're learning and utilizing instructional materials and tools. Checks for understanding. You want to keep the lesson moving? Well, have several checks for understanding. That's going to keep their brain sharp. That's going to remind them that you will ask them. Either you're going to pass out a paper check for understanding. It may be lap boards or dry erase boards. It might be thumbs up, thumbs down. It might be a fist of five. It may be a Kahoot game or using digital devices to really give them a quick check. It also may be, we know that the check for understanding, it could be a cold call, it could be a probe or a short dialogue, a follow up with more dialogues. It could be explore the differences and the details, so asking them to find mistakes or errors or details, or it could be just a reteach and seeing what's different about two different approaches. So checks for understanding can be very thorough. We can even use emojis. So no matter the age group, K through second grade, or it could be high school, right? I understand this concept, or I understand this concept, but I still need more practice, or nope, I'm not there yet. Another way to keep our lesson pacing flowing is choose the most effective teaching process. So again, know our audience, know what's age appropriate, know their interests, know their passions, and generationally speaking, our technology is king, but sometimes we can go old school and provide some other materials and methods as well. So maybe starting the lesson with a picture, a song, a jingle, a mnemonic device, using their background connections, have the scholar-led review process, right? So utilizing the jigsaw strategy to have scholars start with what they know first. GRR, the gradual release of responsibility. So the I do, we do, you do. So that we know that is strongly encouraged at PLA. Use of flipped classroom approach, which is maybe the scholars watch a video first as an initial learning to differentiate the I do process, or direct teaching, where scholars are at the center, they explore, and maybe they're the facilitators and they discuss. That is a lot for indicator 1.1. The second question says, is the lesson adjusted to accommodate diverse skills and knowledge, such as our gifted scholars? Where are their accommodations in the lesson? And then where are the tier 2 and 3 accommodations as well? These are just a few funny cartoons that really suggest why it's appropriate for us to make sure that our lessons are paced well, right, for the diverse skill sets in our classroom. And so this one says, rather than learning how to solve that, should I be learning how to operate software that can solve that? And it's so interesting because, again, it really speaks to the diversity and different generations and how they think, process, and problem solve. The other cartoon says, is there some place I can sign up for a do not call on me list? And some of our scholars, again, when you are intimidated by the content, it's really, really, it can be really traumatic to be called on when you don't feel like you're set up for success. So, lesson pacing is huge in making sure that we're able to provide spaces and opportunities for scholars that are specifically tier 2 and tier 3 who need additional support that may have more gaps in their learning to have those supports and accommodations without putting them on the spot in front of everyone in the classroom, calling them up to the board. That's a bit, we want to be mindful of not doing that and keeping our classroom safe. Another cartoon says, I feel like you're limiting me to correct answers. And so, as we think about these things, we want to, again, know our scholars, but also find ways to give them good feedback. So at PLA, what do? We have small group instruction. That is our culture. That is what is expected. That is the best pathway to meeting all of our scholars' need. And so here is a teacher that's demonstrating, the small group instruction and the differentiated process to really make sure she's best able to accommodate diverse skills. This is another example of that small group instruction for older scholars as well, helping scholars with reading. They can partner up and do some pair work at these stations. The teacher can walk around while other scholars are working and learning some independence as well. And for our gifted scholars, we want to make sure that the content, the lesson, exposes them to that analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis. All of these things are in the wheelhouse of that left side of the brain: resilience, stress, tolerance, flexibility. Any activity or academic processes that will allow for these things really accommodates that left brain. And then the right side, it really speaks to more creativity, originality. These are our more open-ended writing prompts and things that really allow our design challenges. These are things, or our maker spaces and things like that, that allow our gifted scholars to really get to that peak of the Webb's depth of knowledge, or Bloom's taxonomy. So leadership, social influences, reasoning, problem solving, all of these things happen on the right side of the brain: emotional intelligence, technology, design, and programming. So we want to ensure that we're really speaking to our unique gifted learners as well. And all of our scholars need those skills, but making sure that these are just some simple ways to accommodate some of our gifted learners. This connect, extend, and challenge. These are some of the things that we can do for our gifted scholars that are they're simple. And 3 guiding questions: how are the ideas and information presented connected to what you already knew? What new ideas did you get that extended or broadened your thinking in new directions? And what challenges or puzzles have come up in your mind from the ideas and information presented? Just utilizing these 3 questions: connect, extend, and challenge, can really help us to support the needs of our gifted scholars. All right, now we're on indicator 1.2, student engagement. When it comes to creating a solid culture and behavior management, these are some guiding questions for our next component. Does every minute matter? Are scholars provided with academic expectations? Is the time on task focused on the content and assignments? So these are things we want to ask ourselves as a classroom educator. And when it comes to scholar engagement, we know our scholars need to move frequently, maybe every 15 to 20 minutes. They need to speak, and they need to be able to demonstrate every 10 to 20 minutes. And so there's a lot of different resources out there, but here's one that the training team has had for several years now to encourage just teachers to have a quick reflection. The letter A student taught/explained something to the class, a partner, or a small group. So literally every 15 minutes, this is something that you could do. The class spent part of the hour in partner and the other half in group activities. Just reminding you to incorporate this in your lesson planning. C, students use hands-on technology to enhance their learning. D, the class performed a lab or hands-on activity for part of that hour. E, students were called on randomly instead of voluntarily throughout the class. Just going through the ABCs of engagement can really help you to enhance participation ratio and think ratio. This is one aspect of what happens when we have lessons that are engaging, rigorous, standards based, and hello, fun.
Get ready because K-5 Science is here!
Let's explore!
GenerationGenius.com educates and inspires students with videos and lessons. They're fun, they're educational, and they align with state standards, like this lesson on oceans, lakes, and rivers. We do fun experiments.
Whoa!
And each video comes with lesson plans, reading material, quizzes, and more.
So we want to just explore this a little bit because there are a lot of DIY or do-it-yourself science free projects from Generation Genius. So we as educators can go there for our science units, and we could really utilize a lot of their free do-it-yourself projects. They're low cost. Most of them are between $1 or free, no cost at all, to $5. I think the max is $10, but our scholars can really have a lot of hands-on experience and in order to make connections to the real world. And so Generation Genius is just a resource to help with engagement. Another way to engage our scholars is through debate. Would you rather? Asking them, would you rather question. Would you rather debate or do philosophical chairs? Some of our older scholars can do philosophical chairs because they can read articles and they can go more in depth with research and to be able to bring more of an in-depth discussion, utilizing hot topics to spark a deep, rich, researched discussion, and to use evidence to help them present a strong argument. For example, do Photoshop images promote unrealistic expectations of beauty and body image? Or would you rather have talent or be a hard worker? Just as an example. And you'll receive a resource as well for this on how to interpret scholar behavior. So if engagement is an issue and we start to see some misbehavior, or what does that mean? Can you decode the behavior that you're seeing if engagement is a challenge? Component 1.3, teacher and scholar rapport. Are teacher and scholars interactions positive, respectful, and used to build instruction and stretch learning? Are scholar-to-scholar interactions respectful? And so RESPECT, here we go. We have another word. So is this common language? What does respect mean? It's largely cultural. We say it, but respect isn't defined specifically the same in same environments with different and unique people or different environments. So it's important for us to establish that. What is going to be our common knowledge, our common understanding, and our common demonstration of respect, right? And so with that, respect is treating someone with dignity by doing what? By saying what, right? By showing regard for their abilities and their worth, valuing their feelings and their views, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, accepting them on an equal basis and giving them the same consideration you would expect for yourself. Respecting oneself. So respect is also respecting yourself as well. And there's 7 ways to show that you're all about respect. So here's a quick acronym here for respect. The first is recognize that everyone is different. Do not have the expectation for people to respond, and to show up like you do. So respect their diversity and uniqueness and be patient with them. E is for empathy. Empathy is to listen and connect. S is for self-monitor, so think first. P is for personal space, so give a little room and give people their privacy, especially if you're more outgoing. E, earn trust through action. C is cheer on others and their success. And T, treat everyone as an equal. Respect in the classroom, it is earned, not expected. Now that is huge because in some cultures they believe that respect is earned because of your age. If you're older, you should be entitled to respect. Well, that's not everyone's understanding. And so we want to make sure that we're all in a space to earn respect and to make sure that we don't assume we are entitled to it. So show respect. And again, that's the question. Should respect be earned or expected by scholars? And so that's a great conversation to have. This is an example of how we can establish respect in the classroom using this at the beginning of the year. Teacher to student, student to teacher, student to student, and everyone to the classroom. So having the scholars to have a discussion around what does respect look, feel, and sound like when it comes to the teacher to students. They will tell you how they want you to show respect. And then this is an opportunity student to teacher. They'll tell you what they believe is respectful behavior to the teacher. Is calling the teacher by their first name respectful? These are things that should definitely be discussed and reinforced. And here are 10 things that require zero talent, but will make you a great student. So these are just some things that can encourage the scholars: being on time, having a positive attitude, making an effort. So when we talk about behavior management, right, we want to make sure that our scholars have many examples of what it looks, feels, and sounds like. Respect is I will respect you. Please respect me too. Calm is I will stay calm. Please stay calm. Listen, I will listen to you. Please listen to me too. Things like that. And so all of these are visual tools that can be placed in the classroom. But at the beginning of the year, we want to define what respect is. And this is what it's defined in the dictionary. However, we want our scholars to really be able to say, what does it look, feel, and sound like for them in their own language? Create that common language, common understanding, and common demonstration. So if we're not getting the behavior from our scholars that we expect, that means there's probably a language breakdown. Maybe we don't have common language. Maybe there's not a common understanding. And so that's why we're not getting that common demonstration of what respect looks, feels, and sounds like, because we didn't have the discussion. These are some examples of what certain elementary scholars and middle school scholars came up with what respect looks, feels, and sounds like. Being a great listener, that's what it looks like. Or we are valued, so it feels like we are all valuable in this classroom. Or it sounds like speaking with a calm, lowered voice. So if you're an educator who you speak loud or you yell a lot, for some scholars, you're not being respectful because you're raising your voice. What are some pet peeves? This is another way for some of our younger scholars to really define what they deem as respectful and or not respectful. Is to ask them, what are your pet peeves? Some scholars, it's easier for them to tell you what they don't like than what they prefer and how they prefer to be treated. So ask them, because they'll say, well, I don't like it when ... And they'll definitely give you their examples of what they believe is annoying to them or a huge complaint. So what are your pet peeves and why? Well, they will give you the list, right? Confusing me with another student in class. Please don't do that, teacher, teacher, teacher. And we see the young girl here who looks like she's kind of rolling her eyes. She's not making eye contact with the teacher, right? Putting hands in my face and yelling at me. And so these are all different pet peeves. Scholars will tell you literally what their pet peeves are, what are things that are annoying or things that they find not to be respectful, which can really ruin and impede the culture of a classroom, and it can cause behaviors. Component 1.4 is instructional routines. Are the directions and expectations clearly communicated? Do scholars stay on task and follow directions with ease? Well, this is going to make up for a great culture and environment if the answers to this question are yes, consistently. We encourage champs. So for educators who really need more support with communicating the expectations in a detailed manner that's going to speak to elementary, middle school, and high school scholars, again, it's easy to say, hey, greetings class. The conversation level is 0 if you don't want scholars talking at all. If you need help, raise your hand and wait for the teacher. Please complete the do not activator. So now they know what activity they're doing. There is 0 movement. So there should be no scholars throwing papers away because you said 0 movement. You were very clear about if there should be movement. And participation is individual work. So now scholars know the conversation level is 0. Clearly, I'm not supposed to be speaking with anyone because this is individual work. Success is completing the assignment in less than 5 minutes and scoring 4 out of 5 points in accuracy. So now I know what my goal is and what I'm striving for. This is very clear. So to use the CHAMP communication process, it really can support clear and concise communication. If we're not receiving the behavior, the desired behavior, the question is how clear are the expectations and standards for learning? Component 1.5, to create a great culture and behavior management systems that's going to create that positive behavior. We have to have healthy routines and procedures. Does scholar behavior demonstrate a clear understanding of the class routines and procedures? So not only are we saying it in the last component, but here is the environment set up for me to really be clear about the routines and the procedures. Well, these are some examples. So visually, there are teachers who use their whiteboards and they establish what the opening routine is, what our weekly goals will be, what the objectives will be, what our agenda is, what's going to happen beginning, middle, and end in this lesson, right? Some teachers really walk their scholars through the routines, which is important, right? Scholars will be working in the morning on their morning packets or copying down the agenda in their planner. So these are just some things. Do scholars know what it looks, feels, and sounds like for their routines and their procedures? Here's a resource on rituals and routines, a crash course for new teachers. So this is provided as a part of this training as well. Some great ideas in here. Next component is 1.6, classroom management. To keep the culture positive and to keep behavior managed, we want to have positive behaviors. So in order to do that, we have to have classroom management. And so classroom management is how the educator manages the classroom as a whole. Does the teacher monitor expectations? Well, we have to inspect what we expect. So it is our responsibility to monitor. Does the teacher and scholars respond with dignity and respect? Do we maintain a level of respect? Do we maintain a level of dignity when a correction needs to be made? If disruptions occur, are they addressed with minimal interruption? Are we calling a scholar out and now the lesson is stalled and that all the attention is on the situation that's occurring? So can we address situations with minimal disruptions? Here's an example from Teach Like a Champion, which our network, we really support the Teach Like a Champion strategies and processes. And let's see how this teacher adjusts their voice to gently allow the scholars in this high school class to know that there needs to be a behavior that's adjusted.
And second of all, some of them, especially down here, are not as simple as they seem at first glance. And this is the sort of thing. This is the sort of thing where if you don't know how to do this, you actually don't know how to speak English completely. I'm not trying to take you back to middle school. I know you're about to go to college. But what I'm saying is, look up here, please. What I'm saying is that if you don't know this going into college, you sound like you're still in middle school.
All right. So here we see that this teacher noticed that there was some talking while the teacher was talking. So the teacher just quickly kind of paused, looked, and there was a notice, and then the talking ceased, and then the teacher proceeded. So strong voice is just a quick strategy to make it known that there's some misbehavior occurring, and there's an expectation for them to make the adjustment. And those high schoolers adjusted very well. And the teacher continued to speak. So that was a very quick intervention that was able to move that lesson right along. And so what to do when scholars aren't working. So this article is another resource that you will receive, and it really provides some great resources, as well as this article, Don't Take It Personally, De-Escalating Conflict in the Classroom. So maybe there's a scholar who wants some attention, and maybe they escalate even farther, or maybe they're not getting the attention, and you're moving the lesson forward. How do you de-escalate a situation when a scholar wants the attention, but they're not getting the attention, or they're trying to avoid failure or some other resource? How do we de-escalate conflicts in the classroom that may interrupt the culture and cause some misbehaviors, and not just one scholar, but may cause additional behaviors? Component 1.7, culture and achievement. Does the teacher promote a culture of hard work? Yes. We know we absolutely will do so. We will promote a culture of hard work because we want our scholars to all succeed, and to be successful, we want to make sure we're raising the expectations and that they are really growing? Do scholars meet the expectation with a personal level of investment and pride? Maybe our scholars, maybe they don't see the importance at first, right? But we want to make sure that we are the biggest champions for the content and the scholar, right? So we know we believe in our scholars. We really know that they can do the things that are being asked of them. We also want to make sure that they believe that they can do the things that are asked of them and that they can really take a big pride in their work and everything that they do. So scholar self-reflection and goals are really important to that. So this is just an example of a visual of a teacher who chose to first start out with how they're feeling for the day. Their scholars are able to really just check, am I on pace, behind pace, in my head? What is my goal for class today? And today I accomplished. And this teacher has a rubric, so about accomplishment. Make sure your personal checklist is up to date. Do you need or want a personal check-in with a teacher during your next class? Which one is accurate for you? Circle one, I met my goal. I did not meet it. I exceeded my goal. And what's your plan for next class? So this one literally is something that this educator has scholars do every single day. This is whiteboard communication, so helping scholars to be reminded that I can do or know something, right? For the purpose of so that I can, why, and then I'm successful when I can. And so that reflection that scholar just completed, it reflects and it is in alignment with the whiteboard communication when we have our I can thing. I can do, or I can, I know, right? So that I can, and I'm successful when I can. This is how I'm going to demonstrate it. So we know it's the learning target, it's the purpose, and it's the success criteria lived out loud. For the secondary education room, 6th through 12th grade, again, classroom procedure serves as, do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I know what I'm supposed to accomplish? So it's the beginning, middle, and end. And scholars being confident as to what the expectations are, and the procedures are the process by which we're going to use to get there. All right. And then our last component in domain 1 of our teacher rubric is classroom supervision. Does the teacher reinforce on-task behavior? Does the teacher circulate, scan, and monitor behavior with positive reinforcement techniques? Oh my goodness, we have to walk around. You have to do the runway walk regularly throughout the lesson. So here we have, for example, radar and be seen looking. So this is a small group lesson. So we know in small group, the teacher actually is sitting with our scholars and providing that intervention. But see what it looks like for teacher radar in small group.
So if character motivation is why a character says, does, or thinks something, how do we figure that out? How do we figure out why somebody says something, why somebody does something, and why somebody thinks something? Fold it up. Eyes on Nyan. Nyan, what do you think?
We can find out
What do you think? Jaden?
I disagree with you. We didn't think of why does the cat feel feelings?
What do you guys think? Do you agree with Elijah or do you agree with Jaden? What's their mental state? Say your eyes.
Okay, go.
C-A-G-E.
So Elijah, it's right here, my man. It's right here. We need to think about what the character wants, how the character feels, and the character's mental state. What do we need to think about?
We need to think about what does the character want, how does the character feel, and what is the mental state.
Say yes, that's right.
Yes, that's
All right.
Good. Pencils down. Track me in 3, 2, and 1. Track up here in the front. I think you said something good. I don't think if William can hear you. Strong voice. Snaps, if you agree. Good. Radical. What about C? Track Anthony. Strong voice. Good. Snaps, if you agree. For C, I didn't hear any snaps. Why do you disagree? Track Precious. Sorry, Precious. We're waiting on 4. Thank you.
All right, we have radar and be seen looking. So all of these teachers have an expectation for scholars to track the speaker at all times, and that you need to be seen looking and tracking the speaker. And radar, just ensuring that everyone is on the same page, either be it the timer, snapping if you agree, making sure that 100% are ready to hear. Even the last teacher said strong voice, reminding scholars to really make sure they're using the appropriate voice level when they're speaking, whole group versus small group. So really, really important. Also providing routines and procedures that really speaks to the teacher scanning and being aware of what percentage of scholars are on task and engaged in the learning and have that think ratio and that participation ratio. Providing private, individual, precise praise. So this teacher is a visual here. You see the teacher really speaking to the student on the side, facing the student, but off to the side and providing that precise praise. Some scholars don't want to be publicly praised, but maybe privately praised. So this offers an opportunity when teachers are up out of their seat, walking around the classroom, able to provide that positive praise and to reinforce what we want to see. This is another example of a least invasive intervention of teacher radar as well. Let's see how this teacher utilizes the strategy.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Who would like to just share some of those clue words that you remember? Aaliyah, you can pick a random 3, 2.
Addison.
Track. Next word.
The word for this person is I, me, my, we, and us.
What do you guys think? Say great job, Addie.
Great job, Addie!
I'd like you to talk to your partner about third person. That's very different. It's all about he and
She.
So it's the narrator. Eyes on me.
Eyes on you.
New words.
New words.
Third person.
Third person.
Point of view.
Point of view.
Is when.
Is when.
A narrator.
A narrator.
Tells.
Tells.
Somebody else's story.
Somebody else's story.
So try to remember the clue words for third person. Oh, make sure you're over here. There. Nice work, Alex. Share.
All right, this teacher starts out by just gently walking over and just placing a hand on a scholar's quick shoulder, and that was a least invasive way to provide an intervention to get that scholar back on track. Toward the end of this video as well, another scholar, she looked like she was fishing and wheeling, bringing that fish in to get the scholar to push the chair under the desk and to make sure that scholar's posture was an academic posture in that moment. This is a classroom of call and response. So there, the teacher is moving around the room, and the only way to see what's happening is to move, to scan, to walk, to make sure that radar is in close proximity to be able to make those quick adjustments. And so, wow, think about the culture that we've seen in these classrooms. Think about how the behavior is being managed. And so when we think about Domain 1, there are so many additional options that we have in our academic playbook. And so utilizing the QR code and the resources that we have in our multiple platforms to support you in your growth, we want to make sure we utilize those. We thank you. This was Domain 1 of the teacher rubric at PLA for Culture and Behavior Management. If you have any questions or you need any additional support, reach out to the training team. Thank you so much.